Hello, and welcome to Gigabit PC. Are you thinking about building a PC but you just don't know how or you don't feel comfortable with the process? Well, then this guide is for you. By the end of this video series, you will be able to build your dream machine. So let's start at the very beginning. Step 1. Most people say when planning a new computer build, you should pick the CPU first. I disagree with this. While it is the first actual part you should pick, it is not the very beginning. Where you really need to start is figuring out what your PC is going to be used for and who all will be using it. Take me, for example. I'm the only user on my PC and I mostly just use it for gaming. However, you may want to use yours for something else. It may be more than just you using the computer. So say you want to do some video editing, AutoCAD, or other programs. Well, then your needs might be a little bit different than mine. The point is, just about every application has different needs, and building a computer to cover them all would be too expensive. The second step should be figuring out what your budget is. Now, don't go thinking that budget means cheap. It just means the predetermined amount of money you are willing to spend. Your budget might be $500, it might be $5,000. That is entirely up to you. Now that you know what you want to use your computer for and how much you can spend, let's get into the finer details. The third step is actually picking out the computer parts. If you're looking for a computer to just browse the internet, check emails, do Facebook, and maybe some other social media, and you might want to watch some YouTube and Netflix, well then you could literally walk into a big box store and pick up a PC off the shelf, and that will serve you well. You don't need much in the way of a processor or graphics to accomplish this. But if you are going to go through with building a PC, then you need to know the basic part list. There are 7 main parts to build a PC: a CPU, motherboard, memory, storage, a graphics card, case, and power supply. With these 7 basic components, you will have a functional PC. So if you are adamant on building your own PC for basic use, you could probably get away with buying cheaper parts. Any Intel i3 or AMD Ryzen 3 processor should work. Get a motherboard with the appropriate socket type. Some cheap RAM, 8 gigs should do. Any hard drive over 500 gigs will be fine. If you buy an Intel CPU, you might be able to skip the graphics card because Intel CPUs have built-in graphics. If you go with the AMD graphics card or AMD processor, you're going to need a graphics card because they do not have built-in graphics. So the GTX 1030 or going with any used older graphics card you can find will work. Buy a case that is large enough to fit all of your parts, meaning your motherboard needs to be able to fit in your case, and I would go with a 500 watt power supply, minimum 80 plus bronze. Don't worry about all these little nuances, I will explain them a little later in the video. Most people who build their own PCs are gamers, so that is going to be my main focus. I know a lot of people who are just starting out with PC gaming plan on buying something cheap and then upgrading later. I would caution you against this. Trust me, I have made this mistake. All it does is end up costing you more money in the long term. It seems like every year or two, newer and better parts are being released. So my advice is to save up a little bit longer and build something you can live with for a while. What I'm saying is if you go with say an i3 7100 and a GTX 1050, you probably won't be satisfied with the gaming performance. Instead, I would save up a little bit longer and go with the i5 7500 and a GTX 1060. This will make a good gaming machine that will last you for a while. You can get by with the 3 gig 1060. There really isn't much need for the 6 gig version unless you can get it on sale. If you can find it on sale, buy the 6 gig version. I would love to tell you to go with the Ryzen, but I have not purchased one yet, so I can't tell you how good they truly are. But based on what everyone else is saying, it wouldn't be a bad option and it could help you save a few dollars. Also, I have tested the RX 480/580 cards, and they are great cards. The problem is finding them around MSRP prices. They're usually more expensive because of their popularity with miners. To help pick out the parts, I want to show you a tool that I find the best deal on PC parts with, www.pcpartpicker.com. This has a lot of good resources for you to take advantage of, so let's go to that website now and pick out some parts. So at this point, let's say you have your budget and your needs decided and you're going with a gaming PC. Let's just say, hypothetically. Let's go ahead and pick out some parts here. we're going to choose our CPU first. Then it's listed at the top for a reason. We're going to just type in i5. And we could go with the 7600K for $220. The K is the fastest of the i5s. Well, yeah, it's even faster than the new 8th gen. But anyway, the 7600K, the K means it's unlocked and you can't overclock it. If you're not familiar with overclocking, I wouldn't worry about it at this point. Or maybe you want to dive into it in the future, you know you're going to get into it, go ahead and go with the K. But there's one thing I did not touch on earlier, and that is some processors do not come with coolers. And the K processors are some of those. Ryzen 7 1700X or 1800X. Can't remember. I think both of those do not have coolers. So you would need to buy your own PC cooler. But for the sake of this video, and say we're on a fairly tight budget, I'm just going to pick out the i5 7400 right here. It is a good gaming budget option. You could go with one of these 2400s. It's a older generation. They still perform well. But if you're going to go with the 2400 or 3470, something like that, 4690, I can almost guarantee you can find those used off of eBay or somewhere else a lot cheaper. But for the sake of this video, we're going to go with the i5 7400. Don't need a cooler because this one will come with a stock cooler. It is not unlocked, so the stock cooler is going to perform perfectly fine. We're going to pick a motherboard. And this is why I like PC Part Picker. So the i5 7400, all i5 6th gen, 7th gen, and 8th gen are LGA 1151 socket. However, the 8th gens, while they're still LGA 1151, they need a slightly newer motherboard to work. But for this sake of this video, we're just looking at the 270s, or the 8th gens need 370s. 6th gen can work on 170s, 7th gen can work on 170, 270 with an update to the BIOS in the 170s. 6th gen can also work on 270s as well, and the 250s. But yeah, anyway, so let's get into the price. We're gonna cycle that. We're going with let's go with the ASRock B250M because I already looked at these already. This is the motherboard I liked the most for the price point. So we're going to go ahead and go there. It's a micro ATX. You need to keep that in mind. We're going to go ahead and add that to our cart. Memory, which is the RAM. This is volatile, and that means the RAM actually clears all of its data that it has stored every time you shut your PC off. This is for quick loading applications from the hard drive onto the RAM, and then the processor accesses it straight from the RAM. It speeds your computer up, basically. It's a lot faster than your CPU having to go to your hard drive every time. So let's go ahead and look at this. For gaming, the minimum I would go with is 16 gigs. So we're going to go ahead and click these two. Let's see, 16, all of our 16 gig options. And that motherboard did have 4 DIMM slots available, so that's why I clicked this right here. If you don't have 4 DIMM slots, say you only have 2, you need to be mindful of that. Okay, then we're going, I already had it set. So RAM, especially DDR4 RAM, has gotten really expensive here lately. The price just keeps going up and up and up. I have looked at all of these already, and these are either very unneutral colors, red or green, yellow, whatever, or they don't even have a heat spreader over the top to make them look kind of cool. If you don't care about that, just pick whatever you want if you don't care about aesthetics. But I'm doing this build with a little bit of aesthetics in mind, so I'm going with this Patriot RAM. It's black, white. It works. I'm going to add that to the cart. Alright, the storage, like I said, even for gaming, you can probably get by with a 500 gig hard drive. So minimum I would go with is a 7200 RPM. Then our capacity, I can crank this up to 500 for the minimum. Go ahead and cycle by price. And I like Western Digital hard drives. I've used several of them. They're very, very good, and Western Digital has awesome support. And so far for me, they have. So we're going to check this out. I mean, it's a hard drive. What is there to know about it? You just need to make sure it has the right connections, SATA 3 or SATA. So that's going to work on our motherboard. We're going to add this Western Digital for $29. That's a fairly cheap part. The video card. So let's go ahead and check out the 1060s. And they have gone up in price. I'm used to finding them around $160. This one's $190 for the cheapest one. So we're going to just go ahead and add this one. It's a 3 gig card. It's a shorter card compared to other 1060s. Let's go ahead and find one. SOS Dual. It's a little bit longer, as you can see. But we're just going to add the cheapest one to save some money. And it is color neutral. It's all gray. Now we're going to pick out the case. Now, if you remember earlier, whenever I picked out the motherboard, it was it Mini or Micro ATX? Micro ATX. So, knowing that, we can pick out a case with the Mini or Micro ATX option. Let's go ahead and go with the price. Go all the way down. You could pick the cheapest case on here, but you might regret it because cheaper cases tend to have sharp edges on them where you can cut yourself. They don't have very good cable management normally. There's just a lot of things you wouldn't really like once you got it all done. But this Corsair Carbide Spec 4, this should be a really, really nice case. Let's go to the website. So on Newegg, we're going to look at some of the features this has that other cases wouldn't. Can we get one with the side panel off? Maybe? Wrong side. Alright, so, this is a pretty standard case. You're looking at your power supply is going to go right here. The motherboard is going to go here. You have space here for whatever you might want to put here. Whether it be, you might be able to put some water cooling components in there. I don't know. I have not built in this case. Then you have your drive bays. Looks like you can mount your if you have an SSD, mount them here or here. But it's a pretty basic case. Corsair built it. It's going to be a really good case. You even have options for fan mounting on the top. But we're going to go ahead and add that Corsair Carbide to our list. It's a cheap and it's going to be a decent case. It's from Corsair. They're a reputable brand. Now on the power supply, we're going to go ahead and go with the 80 plus bronze, gold, platinum, titanium. Go ahead and do our price filter. And, I forgot to put wattage. We're going to go 500 watts minimum. And we're going to go with the Corsair again, the CX550. The reason I'd pick this is because, it's a decent looking power supply on one hand, and then on the other, look at there. The cables are all blacked out. You don't have to worry about ketchup and mustard. So let's go ahead and go with this Corsair CX550. And all of the rest of this is all optional stuff. You don't really need it. These are the 7 basic components you're going to need to build a computer. You have your CPU, your motherboard, your memory, storage, graphics card, case, and power supply. This is a decent beginning gaming PC. It will last you for 4 or 5 years and still probably be going strong. This is a little bit above a basic user PC. So you could actually replace this with an i3 and probably even get rid of this and go with less RAM that's quite a bit cheaper and save yourself $100 or $200. So the grand total for this is $673.58. It's a little bit more than I'm used to spending on an entry-level gaming PC, but it is a pretty good deal. This is a great gaming PC for, say, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. It'd work great on Grand Theft Auto 5, Tomb Raider, Battlefield 1, just pretty much any game you want to throw at this computer, it will play it on high detail or higher. This has been part 1 of a 2-part build. Part 2 is where I'm going to actually assemble the computer and show you how. I probably won't be using the parts listed in today's build, but that really doesn't matter because assembling a computer is the same almost no matter what parts you use. So be sure you're following to get a notification for when that video is released. Also, if you like the video, please click the thumbs up down below, and I would also like to announce that I've launched a Patreon page. If you would like to help this channel grow and you would like to support it, please go to that. Link is provided down below and support the Patreon. I've also provided a link to PC Part Picker. And thank you and have a wonderful day. That was better.